And why this is so important is if you look at Haiti from the sky, you can see a divided island, Hispaniola. On one side is the Dominican Republic, green, and Haiti is brown because it has been deforested, because the people completely impoverished go up into the mountains and they cut down the trees to burn them for charcoal, to sustain them in some way. And then when you have the rainy season, or you have earthquakes, like we saw on January 12th. Yes, it's a natural catastrophe, but it is then exacerbated by the man-made condition of the poverty. So that you have an earthquake and then you have the landslides, and that's what kills the people to the tune of hundreds of thousands. We still don't know how many. It was horrifying to go there. We went from the airport where there were thousands of pounds of aid that was sitting at the airport day after day into the hospitals of Port-au-Prince. It is a nation of amputees. The first night we went to a small Catholic hospitality house called Matthew 25 for the verse, what you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, you do for me. We had a little bit of soup, didn't want to take food from anyone in Haiti at that point who didn't have food, who didn't have water, but then they cleared the table, and some doctors had come in from Denver Children's Hospital. And they laid down a man across the table. There were about 1,000 people in the back in the soccer field who'd taken refuge from all over the neighborhoods because everyone was afraid to sleep inside. They laid out this man and they chopped off his butt. Now, these terrible crushing injuries that resulted from the houses and the buildings crumbling, pancaking, which killed so many people, unlike what happened in Chile. Crushed limbs, but that is not the reason to amputate them. It is only when it is left to fester day after day, when it gets infected, that you're forced to amputate. And so many thousands of people had their limbs amputated with no anesthesia, maybe Motrin or ibuprofen if they were lucky. These docs have brought anesthesia, and that was amazing. That was rare. And then we traveled to the epicenter, from Port-au-Prince, the capital, through Carrefour, Glacier, Léogâne, where the first Haitian flag was made. And we were hearing the reports that the US and UN were refusing to deliver aid until they secured the area. I felt safer in Haiti than I feel in New York. Secure the area from who? People were completely desperate, clawing through the rubble, their hands covered in cement ash as they dug for their loved ones. We spoke to a young man who had made a circle and was using mallets and hammers to dig in that area. He said his grandfather was bringing tea to his grandmother when the earthquake hit. He knew just where he was. He had just dug out the neighbor who had been killed, a 25-year-old woman who had just prepared dinner, and now he was digging out his grandfather. And people were dragging us every which way. Come see over here a man who had just dug out the bassinet of his 1-year-old boy, and then they buried him in the reeds. But they had no water, they had no food, desperately needing aid. Where was this aid? Locked down at the airport. When we went to the airport and saw the thousands of bottles, for example, of Aquafina water, and then saw a truck pull up and thought, well, there is hope here, right? The water was going, and we went up to the men and we said, where are you taking the water? And they said, to the US Embassy. No, it's very important we help the people of Haiti to help themselves, to rebuild their country in solidarity, not charity. This idea of history and understanding and bringing out the voices of the grassroots is critical. And it's something certainly one of the great historians of our time understood, who we lost just a month ago.